Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another of your spooky sessions with me, your host, Heather Gold. Now, I want to wish you all a Yom Tov. I hope you are all having the best time that you can have, considering it's now Friday and the start of the weekend. We're starting a new series tonight from Zethero, and it's called Restoration 1. Where we are introduced to the father, Fred, the mum, Sandy, and the two sons, Colin and Trevor. So that is a 5-part series. I'm starting that tonight. There is Restoration Part 2, which is a 12-part series, but I'm going to have a break in between Restoration 1 and 2 by introducing you to the story of Detective Jason Miller, who, as you know, did play a part in the Vatican story and with regard to Sarah Baker. So it's going to tie up a few things there with his side of the story. So we've got a good few weeks of stories yet to come. Tonight I'm going to begin with a short cryptid story, and the cryptid story has been suggested to me by our Chaz. So this story is for you, Chaz. Hi there, and I really do hope that you enjoy it. The story that I've chosen is called Limnophobia, which is a fear of lakes. I've already covered a story on the rake, which I class as a cryptid, and the rake's quite famous, being done to death. I may in the future do one about Bigfoot, but there are other cryptids to cover. There are many, many different cryptids around the world, but in this one I've decided to focus on those that lurk beneath. So without any further ado, and whoever is new to the spooky sessions, I welcome you. I ask that you please, all of you, sit back, relax, while I read to you our first story, which is called Limnophobia. And I do hope that you enjoy it. Well, let me start from the beginning. I can't believe how paranoid I am. I just can't believe it. I've always been good on land and in air. I'm not afraid of the so-called monsters in my bedroom or monsters under the bed or in the closet. You know, never believed in something that was going to swoop down and take you. But there's one thing that's always given me the goosebumps, and it's something that's kept me away from lakes, rivers and oceans. One day about 7 years ago, I was swimming in a large, deep lake. The waters were cold, dark, and it was so hard to tell just how deep it was. The other people feared nothing and would always swim in the lake, where I would refuse to go back to shore without someone coming over and taking me back. I would imagine things like an enormous shark about to devour me, or an enormous alligator about to drag me into the deepest part of the lake. I even once saw a couple of dead, rotting fish, and I started sweating over it. My heart was just pumping. I could only imagine what kind of ferocious monster had got a hold of them. But still, since then, whenever I step into even shallow parts of the ocean or lakes, I imagine some kind of diamond-headed creature with flippers about to drag me into the water and kill me. I always get paranoid about the water, and I refuse to swim in it. Yet, there's something about lakes that catches my eye. Whenever I hear rumours about lake monster legends, I hear them saying it was some kind of log, or maybe just a piece of metal, or some kind of known animal. Well, I refuse. I know something is in those lakes. Something we don't know of, something we can't even describe. I know they are saying their theories about these lake monsters, that they could be marine reptiles from the Cretaceous era. Scientists, they're so ignorant, so stupid. These creatures are not what they think they might be. You know, I've seen them. They've chased me down. They've hunted me. They've dragged me down. I know. In the blackest waters, they wait for me, waiting to devour me and rip the flesh from my bones. Luckily, I won't ever go into the water again. I can't believe how paranoid I was, but I can tell you one thing. The marine reptiles are extinct. This is something else. The creatures of the deep await me, and I must heed their call, but this time, no, not this time. They don't want to snack on my flesh. They want me to live with them. Yes, they love me. They think I'm one of them. But I refuse to join them. They think I'm part of their dreaded race of monsters. But no, I'm a human being, aren't I? They love me. They realise so. So they think I'm one of them. The lake monsters, the sea beasts of legend, the ones who are rumoured to have taken down ships. They love me, and I'm one of them. I've been roaming amongst these creatures. I refuse to tell you who they are, and how they came into be, or what they look like, for fear that they will rip me of my flesh if I do. Maybe, just maybe, you're one of them too. But are you afraid of the water? If so, then you're one of us. They drag you down because they love you. They don't want to munch on you, they love you. What I'm saying? No, what am I saying? No, they're not real. I'm not living with them or speaking to them. They don't sing hymns to me in the Black Seas. No, they don't exist. No, they do. They just want me to think I dream of them. We humans, we are them. We are the lake monsters. We pollute lakes. They hate us, the lake monsters. We pollute their home, and they murder us, they devour us. But the truth is, isn't a shark a sea monster? They do give you the chills to be with them in the water when they're around you. They give you the chills. But these lake monsters are just the same. They give you the chills. They give me the chills. I think I'm going insane. And then all that was heard was the sound of a splash and the crunching of teeth on flesh. So that was your short story, my friends. Bet you didn't see that ending coming, that twist. Let me know what you think about that in the comments, please. Now, we are now at episode 1 of Restoration. And this is where, as I say, we meet the family. You're also going to meet some previous characters that have come up from when we were in the Vatican series. So I do need to mention that Fred uses an awful lot of F words in here. So in keeping with that, and in consultation with Haveners, who want me to keep it as authentic as possible, I am going to go with that. Don't mean to offend anybody else, but they want the full authenticity of the story, so that's what I'm going to give it my best attention. And I do hope you're still sitting comfortably. I'm now going to begin with episode 1 of Restoration. And I do hope you enjoyed this one, because I've been looking forward to telling it to you for a good while now. I work in restoration. Your house or business floods. My crew comes in, dries everything up, clears the baseboards, preps the place, tosses the ruined stuff into a dumpster and hauls it away. We leave the place clean and ready for a fresh coat of paint. I'm usually pretty proud of the work me and my crew does. We do it all too. Mostly we have to do flood damage, but there are times when we get called to rich folks' houses to remove stains from stone and concrete structures. I've had a museum call for the same. I've made a name for myself in just being able to get just about any stain out of any stone. You think it's easy, or that you can just scrub away a stain? Folks forget that marble isn't solid marble. It's porous, and it sucks in liquid. That's why polish and maintenance are important. I'm not naive, though. Plenty of times I get called in for red wine stains. Yeah, okay, I get it. You were partying with the hooker. She OD'd, cracked her coked out head on a coffee table, and suddenly there's a pool of blood on the marble floor of your penthouse and you can't get the stain out. Worse, the wife's home next week. I've done the clean-up enough times to know a few things. 1. You don't ask stupid questions. Hell, half the time the hooker's fine or would have OD'd anyway, with or without the expensive John. So no skin off my nose. And if you're cleaning up the scene before the cops can show up, honestly, that's on them. I have a job to do, and I do it. 2. Don't remember these people. I'm not some guy who's going to get brought in on some indictment hearing or some stupid tabloid media circus, all because I decided to suddenly have a good memory. I do a job like this, I get your address, I show up, I shake your hand, I call you Mr. Smith, and then I leave. I delete your address, I carry on with my life. The less I know, the safer I am. That being said, I don't get the blood clean up very often. It's normally innocent stuff. Wine, sewage, flood water, sometimes human feces. You think it's gross, but it's easier than anything else to clean. The weirdest request? I need to give you context on weird. I had a call to clean up a place after something called a lunar party, which somehow involved a whole lot of menstrual blood and dancing in it. Next time, bring a tarp. But that's not my weirdest call. It was a Friday. I don't know why that mattered when I got the call. The secretary was out for lunch, as was the rest of the crew, and rather than let it go to voicemail, I took the phone call. This was my first mistake. MC Restoration Inc. Fred speaking. Yeah, I'm Fred. There was a pause, and then a guy's voice comes over, kind of timid. Yes, hello. I understand from your ad that you can remove stains from all sorts of stone. Marble as well? Kind of our speciality, I boast. What sort of stains are you talking about? blood. I'd never had someone just come out and say it. I get all the pussyfooting around, sure. Wine, salsa, sangria. Sangria was my favourite considering that blood is in the name. But this guy just out and said it plainly. How large an area? Another pause. I'd say about maybe 10,000 square feet. Not the property, I tried to clarify. Just the stain. Yes, I know. You need 10,000 square feet of marble, which is stained in blood. Cleaned? Yes. This time I had to take a moment. How many gallons was that? I thought back to that lunar party thing or whatever, but even that was only a single floor. I'm sorry. Some context is probably needed, the voice on the other end continued. My name is Timothy. I work in antiquities. A curator friend of mine referred me to you after you managed to clear up her museum steps of some blood that apparently occurred after someone took a nasty fall. I cleared my throat. Right. Okay. Yes, I'm just still trying to process. 10,000 square feet of stained tile. Is it too much? I was still a bit dumbfounded. Let me be frank. This site was the location of a rather bloody massacre some time ago. My colleagues and I have already examined the site in its entirety, and we're looking to begin restoration. Well, at this point, my concern was overridden by cash. Antiquities? Historical site? This sounded like a fat government contract. Christmas came early to old Freddy. What's the budget for this project of yours? Time is more of the essence than anything else. We need the site cleaned in preparation for other restoration efforts. So as soon as possible would be preferred. Your fee is essentially yours to name. You're literally the only one who I can call on for this task. Haggling wasn't this guy's strong suit. Sounded to me like you need to read The Art of the Deal. You are talking about a whole load of space to clear. I mean, 10,000 square feet is a whole lot of floor. It's not all floor. A good portion of it is in the walls and the ceiling. Well, how high is the ceiling? About 50 feet. I was silent again. I was going to need to rent a scissor lift for that. I thought for a moment and cleared my throat. I'm going to need a whole lot of equipment, materials, and at least 5 guys if you want this job done right and fast. Of course. How long's the marble been stained? There was a moment of silence. By the current timeline? 200... Wait, what's the current year again? I wasn't too sure why he was asking, but I figured I shouldn't sound stupid. It's 2018. 350 years, roughly. I thought for a moment, thinking about how, this being the United States, there was nowhere for there to be a structure like he was talking about. I ignored him and assumed he had to be wrong. Anything over a decade is as set in as it's going to be anyway. I took a breath. I can't do it for any less than 30 grand. I figured he'd work on needling the price down, but then he shot me again. Understandable. I'm assuming I can ignore a number of taxes and paperwork if I provided a cash payment. I coughed in shock, nearly swallowed my cigarette. Yes, certainly. Cash? I'm going to have this job done, and it was going to be tax-free. I felt I'd just won the lottery. So the job itself comes up. I've got my crew rolling onto the address. The address has a huge rusted gate, chain on the front, typical of a site you're not allowed to get into. I see a guy standing about 6 foot in a black trench coat, black sunglasses, gloves, black dress shoes and slacks, black hair and pretty pale. He doesn't say a word and unlocks the chain and the gate, pulled it off pretty quick. I thought it was a heavier gauge than you made it seem, but I was probably just mistaken, being in a huge truck and not too close to the gate. The guy opens the gate and walks up to the side of the truck. "Fred, yes?" he says. I nod, reaching my hand out to him. "You're Tim?" "Timothy, yes." He shakes my hand. It's a firm handshake, and his hair is cut short, trim and proper. "You military?" I ask. He nods, stepping back and pointing down past the gate, motioning with his non-directing hand to move. "Definitely military." So I nod and drive up. I see a huge mansion, white and grey stone steps, old siding falling apart, boarded up windows, a messed up roof, and the entire place looks to be knocked down. Rather, getting rebuilt was apparently on the docket for today, and I was getting paid not to care. As we unload, Timothy opens up the front doors and knocks them into place. He starts talking loudly. "The doors need to be open at all times while you work. There is no ventilation inside." He has a pair of pretty big heavy door stops on each door. From the outside I can't see anything inside. Nothing but pitch black. "You're going to need lighting, so I hope you brought a generator." I laugh while my crew unlocks the trucks and sets up 2 generators, pulling down some cans of gas. I laughed and said to him, "This isn't my first rodeo." "So it would seem," says Timothy, and then he walks inside and vanishes into the blackness. I motion for the crew to set up the lights, and the first place we go is on either side of the door. He wasn't kidding about needing light. The boards were perfect and the inside was absolutely dark, like the middle of a moonless night dark. I hear the generator kick on and the lights perk up a second later. That's when I see a massive white face appear out of the dark with brown drips across it. It's an angelic woman carved expertly out of marble. I swear I can see the pores on her cheeks and the split ends of her long hair. There's a second familiar statue about 30 feet to the left, and it's covered in brown stains. I hear one of my guys, Chaz, speak up. "My God." That's about when I get the hint something isn't right. Chaz spoke up again. "Hail Mary, our Father, protect us." I picked up Chaz from a day labourer's site about 1 year ago, and I've been paying him under the table ever since. He's either from Mexico or Honduras. He was a good worker, so I never bothered to care and would never ask. "This is too much. This place is cursed to high hell. The blood's all over those angel statues. What is this?" Chaz was rambling. You see, the reason I could never ask Chaz where he came from was that Chaz doesn't speak a goddamn word of English. Timothy's voice soon echoed across the room, walking over the solid marble in various states of stains and scrapes. "I trust this isn't too much for you or your men." I didn't automatically spot where he'd come from, but I wasn't paying attention before Chaz got a smack upside the head from one of my full-timers, Pete. "Since when the hell can you speak English, Chaz?" "Where the hell did you learn Spanish, Peter?" Chaz asked. Timothy seemed agitated. Gentlemen, can we begin the job now?" And he walked past us and outside. I turned to both my men. "Pete, Chaz, shut the fuck up, the both of you. We do this job, go home, you will get a good paycheck, okay? No more questions, let's get moving." This place is cursed, Chavez said before turning around and pulling in the pressure washers and detergent bottles. I got up in Chavez's face now. Certainly can understand me. Then the quicker we get started, the quicker we can get the hell out of here. Understand? Understood, Chavez said, still looking confused. Pete then spoke up. Hey, boss. He focused a flashlight to a portion of the floor where the stain ended. I looked over to where he was shining the light. The brown stains were everywhere, as described, but toward where one large swathe of brown ended was an impression on the floor of much, much clearer. The impression was of a sword, which had to have been drenched in blood. The sword-shaped stain didn't bother me. It was what was apparently holding it, an outstretched arm shape, and then two massive wing-like stains on either side, with a human-like face profiled on the floor. Everything below the waist of the figure vanished in the larger stain across the floor. We each had an idea of what we were looking at, but we were too stunned at the sight. Chavez was the first to break the silence. Angels died here. And that, my friends, is the end of episode 1 of Restoration. So we wait until next episode of our spooky sessions to find out what happens in episode 2. Now, I do hope that you enjoyed tonight's stories. Please let me know what you thought about them in the comments. Let me know what you think about restoration. You know, it's going to get more exciting. The first episode, if anything, is to draw you in, which I feel it has. And it only gets more exciting from here on in. Zethero is an excellent writer. And he's done a really good job. So, I would like to thank you very, very much for being here. I want to thank you very much for watching and for listening to the stories tonight. I want to wish you the best weekend that you can possibly have. And I want to tell you that I love you all. It's been a real pleasure being able to read these stories to you. And I look forward to seeing you again next week. This kiss is just for you. And I'm now going to wish you a very good night. Good night.